right, I'll say how you all this evening of your time as you create time. We will begin this interaction this evening of your time with a little bit more illumination of an idea you have shared with us from time to time. Questions that you have asked concerning the fundamental existence of all that is. These ideas, to some degree, we have shared from time to time with you regarding what you normally consider to be the questions you ask when you are exploring the portions of your consciousness that create in you the need to ask, well, why does this all exist in the first place? Now, recognize many of you have translated some of these ideas into the notion, well, what is my purpose? What is the purpose of the existence of all that is, and so forth. And we have discussed with you many times that the idea, first and foremost, of purpose is something that is created within existence. Existence is not subject to purpose. Purpose is subject to existence. Therefore, that which has existed before the idea of purpose was created does not necessarily need a purpose to continue to exist. However, an even more, quote-unquote, fundamental question, as we have just said in this way many times, is simply that you find yourself from time to time asking, well, why does it exist at all? In this way, recognize we can share with you the idea as per our understanding, but also recognize this. It is not that in the discussion and sharing of this idea with you that we mean in any way, shape, and form to be mysterious in that way, to be mystical. No. But the idea, the question in that form is dealing with primary fundamentals. And when you find yourself dealing more and more with primary fundamentals, you will find that the answers are more and more simplified. Now, the idea as to why many of you have thought that there is no answer to that question is simply because it is, in a sense, so simple, you have not recognized it. But the idea, in many ways, of your society has created a type of structure that will not allow answers of a certain degree of simplicity below your complexity threshold to be acceptable or to be valid in this way. Now, therefore, again, this idea may, as we present it, seem to your habitual way of thinking perhaps to be an oversimplification, but this is the way that it will translate into your language. There is nothing we can do about that. Therefore, the idea, as you have asked it, well, why does existence exist in the first place, can simply be viewed from this point of view. First of all, you are asking that question based upon a preconceived assumption as if there was a choice. You are creating the idea that it could have been that existence existed, or it could have been that it didn't. Now recognize, you are assuming that only one idea, only one side is real. Existence itself. Non-existence is just as real. But recognize this. It is that you are dealing now with primary fundamentals. And when you deal with primary fundamentals, the basic foundational ideas of creation, then those ideas are in and of themselves their own definitions. That is how they are experienced, as their own definitions. What this simply means is that it is not that existence is real and non-existence is not. It is simply that they both are real, but by definition, existence is the only thing you can experience. Non-existence, because of what it is by definition, doesn't exist in any way that you can have an experience of recognizing its reality. Thus, the idea is that what you are experiencing is simply that portion of creation that brings with it the definition that you can experience it. It is not that it could have been non-existent, for non-existence is right now real. But by definition, it doesn't experientially exist to you. Thus, both realities are there, are present. But only one carries with it the ability to even create a cognition of it. That is why it only seems that one side is all there is. But it is a primary, fundamental polarity. Simply that on that level, its own definition is the reality you do or do not experience. You all follow along?
Yeah. Yes.
Sure.
Bashar?
Hey.
There was a very strange, I had a very strange experience last week.
Strange?
Yes, very strange. An individual misplaced his keys, and I was...
Misplaced.
Right, and I was aware of it, but I didn't think anything of it. And the following morning, as I was emptying my purse, I found a strange set of keys in the inside pocket of my purse.
More strange.
And I immediately assumed they were his, but my first reaction was total surprise. My second reaction was embarrassment. And my third reaction was that I knew I had not taken those keys, that there was no reason for me to put strange keys in my purse,
All right.
and that they had probably gotten there on their own, so to speak. Because I know that this can happen. It's happened to me that I misplaced things and suddenly they were there when they weren't there before. And so I thought...
Then they are not misplaced.
Okay, no, but I didn't perceive them at one point.
We understand.
Okay. And so I thought, well, this... I mean, I was a little embarrassed, but I knew that I had nothing to do with it consciously. And then I thought, well, that's very interesting. You know, we've been talking about synchronicity.
Yes.
There must be a good reason for it.
Can be. What do you think?
Well, I never did find out because...
You never did find out.
What the reason was. No, I really... See, I would like to know from you if you can perceive whether in fact they were physically put in my purse by somebody or whether they just materialized in there. Because the person who misplaced his keys didn't believe me. He thought I had taken them, which doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense that anybody else would have picked up strange keys and put them in a strange purse.
Then in this way, what does that allow you and your friend to find out about each other?
Well, I didn't find out anything except that he thought I took them.
Which tells you what?
Well, I was a little upset that he was angry, but I thought, well, you know, that's his perception. If I had been in his shoes, I might have gotten angry too.
Maybe.
And I thought...
What are you unlocking for each other in that way?
Really, for me, it just never got resolved in terms of this particular synchronicity, which I at first thought...
You may simply be attempting to make it more complex than it needs to.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Do you feel, or have you felt, that you can be a reflection in certain ways for this friend of yours?
I thought so, but I did not sense that he was willing to discuss it with me.
What does that have to do with the fact that you may still be willing to be a reflection?
Oh, nothing. I really would like to know if those keys got there on their own, or if somebody, see, he was sitting behind me, but like...
Our perception in this way is that there was, in your terms, what you call an assumption made on someone's part when the keys were found and deposited where they thought they belonged. But in this way, simply recognize that no matter what the agent of the transference is, it is still synchronicity, and it is still magical.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yes.
It still serves the purpose to allow the recognition of the interaction that is going on between you and your friend to come about.
But there wasn't much of an interaction.
There wasn't.
No.
You said that your friend, in your terms, accused you of taking the keys.
Well, he didn't accuse me. He said, well, he said...
Did you say your friend created the idea of anger?
That's my perception when he called me on the phone.
All right, then you have created your own perception of your friend's anger. Whether the friend had anger or not, your creation of it, the involvement is an interaction.
Right. But I don't know where it got us or what I got out of it.
Why don't you ask your imagination?
I did.
And? What did you get?
Not very much.
The idea that you got not very much is a judgment. Again, you may be assuming that it is more complex than it has to be. What did you get?
Well, actually, for myself, I really felt that those keys got there on their own, and I thought it was exciting.
All right.
That's
very
what I
good. Very good.
And I thought it was a shame that
shame.
Well, okay, that's a judgment. I thought he would perceive it as being exciting too, but of course I'm not the one that was put out by.
So what does that tell you?
Well, he wasn't.
What else does it tell you? What does it tell you about you?
About me?
About you.
Well, that I had expectations.
All right. What else?
But I didn't let it bother me for very long.
All right. Very good. And that you can recognize that your creation of a situation and someone else's creation of a situation and a third explanation of a situation are all their own complete realities.
They're all different from each point of view.
Yes, and all equally real.
Right.
For what it does for you in terms of allowing you to create yourself in the image you imagine yourself to be. So in this way, you see that the idea of this key can unlock many locks simultaneously, allowing you to experience your portion of the idea and someone else to experience theirs, even though they may be very different.
Right.
The tools that you have in your society can all be viewed as keys. They fit every lock. One key changes and transforms to fit every lock that there is. So you use the key in your way, they use the key in their way, and in a sense, though it is transformed, it is all the same one key, basically.
Good. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Bashar.
You!
Last week you were talking about different chakras of the earth. Can you tell me what significance Big Mountain has?
Big Mountain?
Yes.
Which?
It's in Arizona, on the Four Corners Reservation.
In this way, it will be once again more what is in our terminology a free zone, rather than what you would recognize as one of the major chakras. But in this way, all the chakra points and energy vortices upon your planet are beginning to blend. So every free zone energy vortices will carry within it the idea of energy from all the vortices. In this way, that particular energy is not dissimilar to the idea of the energy vortices in what you call Sedona. And it will be one that will carry within it many different reflections, so that when you place yourself in that energy, what is paramount within you that you wish to face will be brought to the surface. It is by the idea you have described it and by the location it appears in your idea of geography, indicative of the idea of a crossroads of sorts where all these ideas come together. So that you can know that you are in that energy vortice, an integration of all the directions of energy that you are. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
It will also be one of the balancing points for what you call American Indian culture in this way, one of the doorways of extra dimensionality through which many of their consciousnesses have communicated to many other levels of consciousness.
Right now there's a public law which is trying to relocate the Indians there on that land and take over that land to dig out the minerals and oil and gold there. Can you say something about that?
What do you wish to do about that?
Well, I wish to stop the process.
Then, in your terms, go in love and light without accusations. and educate individuals and give them an opportunity to recognize the idea of what the energy can be used for, and how there is, in your terms, far more energy naturally in the area than anything they could extract from the land. You follow me?
Yes.
'Tis up to you. 'Tis your planet. You decide how the balances go.
If the federal government isn't stopped and they do...
You are the government. When you equalize yourself and open up equal communication with that portion of yourselves, then it will not be something outside of you that has control over you. It is not that it will become stoppable, it simply will never start.
Okay.
When you equalize the idea and do not accuse, do not judge, but give that portion of yourself an opportunity to recognize that you are the government and that you all together will decide, but it will take action on your part. The willingness to show that you have the conviction that this is what you prefer and not something else.
I just went there
Okay.
on a delegation from Santa Barbara.
All right.
Students.
Did you have a good time?
Yes.
All right.
They're preparing for the Sundance ritual right now.
Good.
And I met a 7-year-old boy who had gone. His name is Joshua. I was wondering if you could tell me anything about him.
Has been, in your terms, American Indian many times. Has been shaman many times. Is connected to the idea of what may be loosely termed symbolically rainbow consciousness or fan consciousness. Fan. Has been and still to some degree is within the dream state what is termed the Heyoka, thunder dreamer. Will and can be focus of much energy in a very gem-like way. It is a very crystalline individual, here for its own specific purposes. I say it's because it is a blended individual, rather than he or she. That is what we can perceive at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you!
Bashar.
You!
Hello to you and all of Essasani.
And to you.
I've missed chatting with you the last few weeks.
You have not been chatting?
Well, actually I have.
All right, then.
You aware of specifics?
Only sporadically.
Yes. On a few occasions I imagined myself to exist on your planet in physical form in the way that you described the virtual personality. And in that imagination I imagined basically saying greetings to you and on a few occasions.
Our perception is that you also worked with the crystal sheets.
Wow. I'll take your word for it on that.
You don't have to.
I like it.
All right. It's up to you.
Yeah,
That is simply our perception of the energy.
sounds good to me. I enjoy that. It seems that on the second occasion that you took the group up to your spacecraft, I chose not to participate by not being here. And I'm becoming convinced that I am creating a reason for that.
Oh.
I'm also creating puzzlement as to what that reason is. Do you have any more to share with me about that?
Now, in a sense, as you have said, you have been creating it yourself. You are recognizing that you are as unlimited as you wish to be, and the idea of any particular time has nothing to do with the timing in that way. You are quite capable of recreating the experience any time. In this way, it may simply be an indication and a reflection for you that you are not necessarily bound by any particular schedule.
That is very true. It's particularly reflected in my life.
Nice.
So it's true. That's terrific.
All right.
I had a really neat experience.
Oh, do share.
It was about a week ago, and as I was coming over the hill from Kathy's house to my own domicile,
Hey.
I spotted in the valley a tremendous amount of, looked like haze or smog. I thought to myself, gee, wouldn't it be neat to move this out of there and clear up the day? So I contacted the mass consciousness of the area in my imagination. I just said, hey guys, you want to bring up some wind and move this stuff out of here? And I got this kind of chorus of voices going, hey, yeah, that sounds neat. So by the end of the day, the wind had come up and cleared out the smog. It was really terrific.
Thank you, Switcher.
My pleasure.
Do you understand the term?
No, I don't.
Valve, gate,
Oh, okay.
link, connection point, terminal.
For communication or for airflow?
Same thing.
Oh, that's neat.
Activator, catalyst.
Now it's hitting home.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Bashar. Hi, Bashar. I'm new here. My name's
Hi.
Sarah.
Do you mean on Earth?
I don't know yet. I'm going through a lot of emotional pain right now, Bashar.
Emotional pain. Which means judgments of yourself.
Yeah, I guess so.
All pain is the result of judgment. There is no need for pain, and it does not occur until you judge portions of yourself and separate them from the rest of all that you are. Now, why in this way would you be judging yourself at this time?
Well, I'm very much in love with someone right now.
Okay.
I've taken a choice.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
What does, in your definition, the term in love mean?
I don't know.
I do. May I ask you another question?
Sure.
Oh, thank you very much. Do you love yourself?
I'm trying.
Trying? Then you are doing trying.
Yeah.
Now, do you wish to love yourself?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Unconditionally? I do not hear anything.
Cut me off before I can even say.
Cut you off.
Loving myself unconditionally.
Do you think you can love others unconditionally? Anyone at all?
It's a struggle.
Why? What do you think it entails that makes it a struggle for you to love someone unconditionally?
Because I have so many expectations.
In other words, you are not trusting that the situation as it occurs is the way it needs to.
You're right.
You may also be under the assumption that you need a relationship in order to allow yourself to be recognized by you as complete.
You're right.
And in this way, recognize that if that is your belief about yourself, since belief creates reality, you can only attract someone into a relationship that will only reflect your sense of incompleteness about yourself. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
It is very simple. The idea of your so-called soulmates can appear in your lives when you know you are already complete and are operating on a vibrational level that attracts someone of equal vibration to reflect to you that you know you are complete, and thus that is the relationship you forge. But the idea is not, if only my soulmate was here, I'd be happy, but since I am happy, I allow the idea of someone to be in my life to reflect that happiness to me. So I can reflect their happiness to them. If you believe you are incomplete in that way, in that sense, then you will usually attract someone who reflects that incompleteness to you, and in that way it will usually be someone who will also derive benefit from having you reflect incompleteness to them.
Bashar, I have another question for you.
Did that assist you?
Definitely.
All right.
What connection do I have with this individual? Have I had a past life experience with this individual? His name is Edison.
More than one.
Has it been based on dependency?
Once. Little girl and father. Disappointed. Disappointment.
What is the you say past life, but what is it in this life right now?
This is the transformational life upon your planet. All that you have ever been, all that you have ever experienced with anyone, in your terms, is now blending into one understanding. The idea that you are as powerful as you need to be as an individual to create anything in your reality you desire without having to hurt anyone else to get it or rely on anyone else to have it. Therefore, there may be still some remnants of the idea of dependency in that way, but you are being given an opportunity to shake that off, to be complete, so that you can interact completely and not interdependently.
I want to be with this individual. How can I make that happen?
You want to be with an individual that represents the vibration you desire to have in your life. Now, maybe that can be with the individual you recognize, and maybe it won't. But the idea is that even if it is with the so-called individual you recognize, when you change the vibration you are, if they decide to, let us say, stick around, they will need to change the vibration to match you. If they change their vibration, then they are not the same individual anyway. Literally. Therefore, the idea is not so much that it has to be any specific individual, but that the idea of the vibration you are is matched. If your vibration is matched in perfect harmony by someone else, then all of your needs, so to speak, are filled, and you don't care who it is. Now, it may be that you are recognizing that that particular individual may be able to share that idea with you, but if so, they will still change into another individual in order to do it, when you change. You follow me?
Oh, definitely.
And you'll find when you change, whatever individual needs to be there to match your vibration will be there. Whether it is the same individual or not will not matter to you because it will feel right. You follow me? Many times an individual, depending upon the timing of what they are learning, may interact with you simply to get you to a certain point, but it may be that the timing is not that they will continue to interact with you, as it may be that they need to interact with someone else to get them to a certain point. Then whoever needs to be interacting with you from that point forward will automatically be there. You follow me? It can be the same individual, but it does not have to be. And you will not care, because it will feel right.
One more question.
All right.
Why are newborn babies so powerful?
Because they have not forgotten so much yet. You follow me?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, thank you.
Bashar, on your planet, you have, presumably, two people get together, you said you have sex and procreation, sort of like we have. But how structured is that relationship if children get reoriented and are on their own by the time that their bodies are free?
In this way, as we have said, relationships will transform into whatever the purpose is that is being served. While everyone will still always recognize the idea of the biological child and the biological parent, everyone in our civilization is married to everyone else. Every child is everyone's child. Every adult is every child's parent. Thus, in your terms, it is not very structured at all.
In other words, two people, were you ever married?
I am married to my entire civilization. If you mean, do I have physiological offspring? No.
Okay.
However, I have had relationships in that way.
Right. But let's suppose someone on your planet has a physical relationship and there is offspring.
Yes.
But there is no cultural pressure, or I don't know what the right word is.
We understand.
For the two of you to remain together.
Correct.
So that the relationship may evolve and you'll now, next week or next year, be with someone else.
Perhaps, but do not forget that we never lose track of any relationship that is once formed, and it is altogether highly likely that the individuals you have had relationships with will remain in your life, more or less, in some way, shape, or form.
But not necessarily, as we would say, the primary relationship.
Perhaps, in your terms, as we understand it, correct. Not necessarily. Although, once again, we do understand what you mean, but we do not necessarily look at a relationship as more primary than some other relationship. All are equal. It is simply a different definition, but that does not make it, in a sense, more primary, just because you are assuming that, quote-unquote, more physiological time may be spent with one individual than another.
But that doesn't make that relationship more primary.
Not really.
To other
it simply makes it the relationship that it is, which changes nothing about what all the other relationships are.
Right, except that there's, in the physical universe, there's a limit. You have days, just like we do.
To some degree, yes.
I mean, it gets light and it gets dark.
Yes.
And so there's a limit, if you will, to the amount of time in any one day if you're spending...
In that sense, we understand what you mean. We simply mean that it is not primary in terms of energy.
Okay. Another thought I've had in exploring this for myself about sort of answering the question you asked the young lady, what does it mean to be in love? It seems to me that the sensation that when people say they're in love, what they are meaning is that they are experiencing a particular physiological sensation. It's in some part of their being. And the part will differ if you do a survey of individuals, which is itself interesting. But it just struck me today that the basis of that physiological sensation is separation. That on this planet, when someone says that they're in love, they're experiencing separation from that individual rather than integration.
How so?
Well, I'm not denying the possibility that some people experience a oneness and call that love. I'm not denying that. I'm merely, in my experience, I'm trying to describe something which I have observed and experienced that I think more often than not, the average person...
Are you saying that the idea of quote-unquote being in love is that when you are not physically together, you miss them? Is that what you are saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. There's a quality of intoxication that occurs.
Ecstasy.
Well, no, because I think that it's nearly identical to the excitation that occurs when you take drugs, when one on this planet takes drugs. And I have perceived a distinct similarity, approaching identity, between the experience of taking a drug...
What you mean is multiple orientation.
No, I don't understand that.
Multiple orientation. Disorientation. The idea that when you are, quote-unquote, in love, that you are blending, that you are integrating and opening up more of yourself, connecting into more levels, so that there is multiple orientation, which many times can feel like disorientation to you.
Let me come at this another way.
Perhaps what you are referring to as giddiness or intoxication.
Well, maybe I can come at this another way.
Oh, what?
I have observed within myself that my relationships that I've had are formed on the basis of different parts of my physiological being, if you will. In other words, I would say there are some people I have loved with my head, and I sense kind of a source point of the intoxication with my head, whereas with
we
other
understand.
people...
The idea to our perception is simply that when you have that kind of differentiation, that kind of separation, yes, it is not that you have not created the relationship out of an overall unconditional love, but what you are recognizing perhaps is the specific vibration representative of the specific purpose that you are with that specific person.
Yes, but I do follow you. I've noticed for myself a distinct, a dramatic, light years apart difference between the quality of the relationship and the particle of excitation. If, as I would describe it to myself, it's a relationship, the connection is with my head or the connection is with my heart.
In this way, you may understand that the idea of being connected in a total way will be more representative of what you say to be feeling, and thus it may be that simply the relationship you are having allows you to connect with more of yourself than other relationships. So all we are saying is that when you find that the quality is more differentiated, it may simply be that that particular relationship is for a more highly specified reason.
Okay. But it's, in my experience, and of course this is, I want to find, it's not a judgment, but it's an observation that it would seem to me in retrospect that all of the relationships I've had that were connections of the head were interesting, they served purposes, etc., 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 but in all of them, I was having a relationship, the other person at the other end was less capable of achieving and understanding the kinds of ideas we're sharing here, of a unity among all people. In other words, it was a person who existed more in separation, whereas the relationships I've had with my heart are with people who are capable of experiencing a greater unity among people.
Well, again, that is only, in your terms, logical, because in this way, when you attract an individual for a specific type of interaction that is limited in that way, then that is the level on which they are going to relate to you and you to them. You are simply attracting what defines the vibration you are at any given moment for the purpose of co-creating that relationship. Therefore, when you create a relationship with more of yourself, obviously you will attract an individual that will also be able to share with more of themselves.
I got it.
Thank you.
I'd just like to tie in, though, what I said about drugs. We live in a society which, this particular civilization here in the United States, which places a tremendous emphasis on things of the head, analytical reasoning. Analytical, by definition, is a taking apart into its pieces, which is obviously part of separation. So whether it's true of other people or not, the thought occurred to me that because of that cultural environment and a great attachment to form, perhaps the majority of many people, who knows the majority, many people are led to focus attention on having relationships of the head, if you will, which seem to me to be almost by definition divisive.
We understand. In other words, it can be the result of the idea of the habit of the way you have created yourself to do things.
And it is the connection of the head rather than the heart that struck me as having a distinct near identity to a drug experience.
Well, thank you.
And that drugs are a dividing. When you take drugs, you are individuated, I think, from the mass consciousness because it's
in a sense,
it's a shutdown.
Although there are portions of the idea you are sharing within the mass consciousness to have the experience anyway. But do recognize in this way that the primary portion that you are sharing with the mass consciousness is that it is the drug that is creating the experience, when in fact it is you that is creating the experience.
Okay, one last thing. So perhaps a direction I should consider evolving in.
It's up to you.
No, I understand. It's up to me, but would be. I mean, it sort of fascinates me that there are these different parts of my physiological being.
That is why you are here exploring this.
But there'd be a possibility of somehow integrating all of those so that my experience would be having a relationship that encompasses all of me rather than just focusing on one part of it.
All you need to do is be that kind of being and act like it, and that is what you will attract.
Thank you.
Thank you!
Bashar.
You!
Thank you. Bashar, I just returned from 3 weeks in Sedona where I had communication with the Space Brothers.
Oh!
And I would like to know, I found myself looking at land, buying at land up there with an individual called Michael. I would like to know if my work in the future involves this proposition.
You mean you don't know?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No.
Why not? Doesn't it excite you, attract you?
I found myself sitting in the real estate office having the deja vu feeling that I had created this on the inner plane, and now...
Then in that way, does not that allow you to recognize your own signposts where you have laid them?
I felt it was true, but then I had a channeling up there which said, no, this individual is not to be in your life in the future.
But in this way, recognize once again that every individual is never the same individual in the next second. All predictions are readings of the energy that exists at the time the prediction is made. There is no such thing as a prediction of the future.
Is this individual of the earth plane? I get the feeling that he is one of the space brothers.
Everyone, in a sense, is.
I know, but there is a feeling about him that he's not like other people.
Who is? Take back your power and be who you are. It may be that if this individual, quote unquote, is not physiologically in your life, it is to grant you the opportunity to recognize that you are complete as well.
I feel that now.
All right, then do what excites you.
So is this a good idea to buy land in Sedona?
Good, bad. Is it what you want to do? Yes, no, maybe.
Maybe.
All right. Then as long as you are maybe, you will wonder. When you know whether it is something you prefer, something that excites you, then you will have your answer. It is as simple as that, trusting that what excites you the most is the representational idea that is the path you chose to be. That's what excitement is. The vibration of the path you chose to be. That is why you can always trust that if you follow your excitement, you will always be automatically supported because you are being the path you chose to be. Excitement is your barometer. You follow me?
Yes, I do. Can you comment on the future of the contact that I'm having with the space brother?
Only that, like everything else, it will accelerate in perfect timing. There may be, as we read the energy now, more individuals coming into your surroundings, and that there is a large energy gate, so to speak, for your entire civilization, which you may be able to take advantage of in the area you call Sedona, since you will be in an energy vortex, during what you call the spring of 1987 of your counting. So it is up to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar.
I have 15 questions. But I'll just ask a couple now.
All right.
Just keeping everybody on their toes. A couple friends of mine were sharing a dream that we all of a sudden realized that we had the same one. And what that dream was we would be out in a field somewhere, and we would play this game of seeing how high we could jump, and then the next thing, like, up toward the telephone poles, and we sort of kept it about that level, and then the game was to see how long we could stay up there, and then we just started floating around, and I remember actually telling people, you know how easy this is? This is great, and it was a very, very exhilarating, wonderful feeling, and it was all this, we just simultaneously realized that we had the same dream.
That you were the same dream.
That's right. Well, I mean, it's not really a big significant thing, but I don't know, there is something there. I don't know. It's very light, and I don't mean to make a big deal out of it, but it's so lovely.
We understand.
If you can make a big deal out of it, I mean, if you can just...
It is not at all uncommon to be communicating with many of your friends in your astral state.
Oh, it's so lovely. And the interesting thing was that I did not even recall. It wasn't like I woke up and said, well, I sure had this great dream last night.
Right.
It was something that I actually did not even think of. And the reason, until someone mentioned it or something triggered it,
Right.
and the reason for that's very wonderful to me. is that this week I have had people tell me things like, one guy actually walked up to me, and he was a person who tended to really take himself very seriously and, you know, revere things and all that, and it was very sweet. But he sat there and told me that I need tools and all that intensity and energy. Well, you should really channel that. And I was thinking, what makes you think it isn't channeled? I mean, this guy is amazing. He's coming up and telling me all these things and what I need, and oh, I need tools and I need this. And I was getting a little angry for a second until I realized I don't need any of it. Oh. And he was there to tell me that.
Oh!
And
so you allowed the idea of your anger to be natural, so it simply aligned you with the belief that you knew yourself to be.
Yeah,
that is what anger is for.
And I actually told him how I felt in a very nice way. I mean, he was almost confused.
Ah, good.
It was
confusion, co-fusion.
Yeah, it was terrific, because he couldn't understand how much I could express my liking for him, while at the same time not taking him seriously.
Keep him guessing. Thank you for being such a loving mirror.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yes.
May I ask one more thing?
You do not have to ask if you can ask.
All right, that's right. This is a fun thing. I had a realization that I was actually my father.
Hey.
That's right. Actually my father.
Good.
And I mean physically.
Hey.
Here's what happened. And I don't know if this is true. I don't even know if I care if it's true.
True.
But if you can
Truth
tell
is
me.
relative.
All right. Yeah, I know. But let's just have some fun.
What?
In World War II.
Hey.
See, I feel like I know him really, really well. He has the same sense of humor, same handwriting. You know, he's one of those charming Irish guys. And anyway, he was killed in the invasion of Normandy on the beach by a landmine. And then a week later, I was born. Now you tell me. So all of a sudden I had this flash that I was him.
Different aspect of the same soul.
Well, that I can see. But I was wondering if actually physically...
That is the same thing. Different aspect of the same whole soul.
Oh, I see.
If you were not a different aspect, you would once again, literally, physically, be your father.
Oh, I see. Yes, I just see what you mean. Of course. Yeah. All right, that's good. One other thing, yes. It's all wonderful. I don't care what answer I get. It's all great. The other thing is,
Exploring one way, one life, exploding another, this life.
Okay. All right. The other thing is, recently, things changed.
Yes. Things change.
Well,
Most profound.
Yeah. The theme for this week is
this week.
Well, I'm just making a euphemism. You know, I do that. Is that with regard to relationships, as this subject came up, I have been attracting to me like 5 people, male people, and experiencing a reflection of myself in these people that is extremely full and rich and beautiful.
Good.
But they're married. Now, I really don't mind that, except that I want one that I can jump on. I'm being very flip about it, but you know what I'm saying? I think it's very interesting to have this sort of situation occur, but I don't. It's probably.
Perhaps you are simply, in a sense, not in a literal ending sense, but in a sense touching base with many previous relationships and saying, bon voyage. Thank you.
That is the feeling. There is gratitude there. But I want to say,
hello.
When you have finished saying goodbye, you will.
But aren't they both the same thing?
In a sense, but recognize what we are saying. As you evolve into the idea of a now combination that is in and of itself complete on its own conscious understanding, then you become what attracts what you are seeking. And the idea for you simply may be that you become complete when you detach from all the different ideas of the past. Which is what you may be doing with them, in a sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Relax.
Oh, okay. It's kind of exciting, though. You know, I get worked up. I just get excited. You know that. I mean.
There is nothing wrong with that. Simply live every moment of your life as if every moment is what is supposed to be happening.
Okay.
Do not be impatient. You do not need impatience. Impatience is only created when you think you need to be patient, to wait for something. You do not need to be patient if you are enjoying every single second of life, for you are never waiting for anything better to come along.
Well, I definitely appreciate that.
Be in the now, and all that you desire can be in the now with you.
That's true. It's getting like that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar.
You.
Your opening statement, you mentioned existence and non-existence
Hey.
and polarities.
Hey.
And I was thinking that
Speak up a
perhaps,
little bit.
I beg your pardon, I was thinking that perhaps on the...
Well, you do not have to beg.
How about a little pardon?
There is nothing to pardon. Please continue.
Thank you. In any case, my thought was that perhaps we create mystery, unknowingness, and all of these things in an effort to experience something that is quote-unquote unexperienceable to balance the polarity.
Effort is the way you have decided to do it, yes.
No, it's sure the way I have.
That is what the idea of this particular reality you are experiencing has been all about. The idea of forgetting that you created it so you can play the game of limitation. If you did not forget you created it, you couldn't be limited. You are so unlimited, you can even create the illusion that you have forgotten that you are unlimited.
What a shame. I had to buy out of that one.
It is the ending of the cycle.
Yeah.
Buying into a new reality. Money well spent. Your investment will only go up.
It hasn't been that bad.
Not really.
No.
For you have learned from everything you have ever been. It has all gotten you to where you are, and so it has served you in a positive way. Change the past from now.
Thank you, Bashar.
Thank you! Guys.
I'd like to have a beach house.
All right.
And,
go ahead.
I was wondering if there was a chakra or a vortex or something on the California coast.
Malibu.
Malibu?
Hey.
Any specific?
Malibu.
Okay, very good. You also do a lot of movements with your hands. I wondered if
I do not.
Oh, excuse me.
The idea simply is that you will find I am in what you would call a state of repose. My mentality as it links with the physiological channel before you. My energy as it translates through the physiological channel translates through in more than just what you are receiving as the vocal communication. So what you might term the spillover activates the bodily mechanism to let you know there is more communication going on than what you may perceive with your ears.
Very good. Is there something in my creation that's holding me back?
Hey, you. The assumption that there is something holding you back is holding you back.
Is that...
That's it. The only thing that can hold you back is the definition and the belief that there is something that can. That is it. When you make that a law of the universe, that something can hold you back, held back, you will have the experience of being.
Okay,
By the way,
yes.
held back from what? From where?
From obtaining what my house on Malibu first.
Nothing holds you back.
Okay.
Except perhaps the idea that you may, not saying this is the case, that you may have expectation that if what you specifically imagine does not manifest exactly the way you think it should, you will not accept anything else. Therefore, you do not allow anything else to come to you, even though the something else may, quote unquote, be more than what you are already wishing for. Now, utilize what you are visualizing. It can manifest very specifically, no doubt about it. It can. However, simply use it as a model for the energy. Know the energy is released, and know your reality will do its best, it always does, to reflect what energy you are truly willing to be. Then it will manifest in the way that is necessary for you to feel that the idea has been fulfilled. Whether it is as specifically as you have imagined it or not does not matter. You will not care. It will feel right. You are simply using what you visualize as a model to hang the energy on. But it may transform by the time it becomes physical, according to what it needs to be.
I see.
Does that assist you?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay.
On that topic, I've been wondering about being an idea of something. Let's say you have generated the energy necessary, or you have used, like the beach house, as a model. Okay. Now, once you have become the idea, you've generated the energy, and it takes, have you said it takes usually between 3 weeks and 3 months?
Relatively speaking, can be as little as 3 days.
Oh, 3 days, but...
Actually, it can be instantaneous. However, we are perceiving that the energy of your mass consciousness at this time will usually relegate itself to somewhere between 3 days and 3 months maximum.
But during that time, you do not have to keep being the idea.
You owe, well, in a sense, yes, you are. All you do is simply act upon what opportunities come to you, whether it seems that those opportunities are part of the idea as you think they should be or not, they are. You simply take it for granted and trust that once you have recognized what idea you are, then everything in your life is a reflection of that idea, whether it seems to be or not.
Right.
You simply act upon the opportunities that present themselves, and you will be led to the idea that you know you are.
Okay. Like, just a similar question or a related question.
Good.
If I told you I am the idea of such and such, and there's a concept in my mind, and I tell you what it is, could you perceive to what extent I'm successful in being that idea?
Can you not?
No, sometimes.
One moment! Allow us to remind you of something. Many of you have created the scenario in your mentality that what you wish to do, in a sense, is a piece of an idea and not its own idea. In this way, many times, there may be what you term to be confusion in a negative sense about what it is you are defining yourself to be as an idea. Now, let us use this analogy. If you say you are doing a job, as many have said, that you do not really find exciting, and you desire to do something else that you know is more exciting, something you prefer, well, many of you say, well, all right, I will begin to do that other thing, but I'll hang on to my job just in case. Now, it is not that is not a valid way to proceed, but recognize it. The idea of the job you had and what you want to do then becomes the definition of one idea, not two ideas. So recognize that if you are doing your job and you are doing the other thing and saying, well, I try and I try and I try, why doesn't it become 100%? It doesn't become 100% because you are already using 100% of the idea you are to maintain a balance between the definition of what that idea is. So your job may be 30% still you. Therefore, how can the other thing be anything more than 70%? You are assuming that you can do this to 100% and that to 100%. You cannot be 200%. The idea is to simply recognize what portion of yourself is still, quote-unquote, attached or still being another idea or another part of the definition within one idea. Not so much another idea. In this way, therefore, take the entire activity as one 100% idea. If you are doing your job and doing this, then simply understand that this will be, quote-unquote, as successful as this is not. It is a balance. And it may simply be your way of, quote-unquote, weaning yourself comfortably, so that, bit by bit, perhaps, the old job will become 10%, the new thing 90%, the old one 1%, the new thing 99%, until you are comfortable with allowing the new thing to be its own 100% definition and feel successful at it. But you are eminently successful at balancing the whole equation. You are always successful, always. It is simply that the definition of your success is 70% this and 30% that. So you are successful as that definition, that one idea.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
It seems this is not absurd. I thought it was absurd. It's not.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. We're talking about 100%.
Hey.
And we're talking about that as a whole, and an agreement in this universe that 100% is a whole.
Hey.
That you cannot be more than a whole.
Hey.
Now, are there levels? I know there are levels, but if you could expand on something where you can be more than the whole.
No.
No?
Everything is only 100%. You may simply have different portions of that one idea receiving different percentages of the whole energy. But it is all 100%.
So no matter how many 100% you make out, it still makes them 100%.
Yes. In this way, no matter how you define yourself and redefine yourself, you are simply redistributing the 100% in different ways. Sometimes some of it can go into not knowing it is there. In other words, you are always using 100% even when you are using 90% to make it seem as if you are only using 10. It is still 100% there.
With everyone else but me, of course.
Thank you.
Bashar, I brought my 16-year-old son last week. He sat over here in this corner. And the next day, he loved the session, by the way. His name's Alfie. The next day, he had a migraine headache all day long. It didn't occur to me to connect those two until later. Was there a connection between him being here and having that headache?
The idea simply can be put that that individual, not so much that they were interacting with us, but simply that they have now become willing to interact with themselves, with more of themselves. Simply you will find that many times in your society, because of the belief systems you have bought into, when you begin to open up different portions of yourself, you may find that at first it may be a painful experience because of all the judgment within you. It will release.
Oh, and one other thing, Bashar, thank you.
Allow him to become a valve, a channel for himself, so that the energy can flow through and not push against walls that he may assume still have to be there.
We have a real interesting situation going on right now. It seems that it's some kind of control battle. And I was wondering, I feel we've been together before.
Oh, yes.
And I feel like...
Once again, do not forget that individuals you feel close to in any particular life you have been with many times.
Yes. I feel like that he was either a tyrant and I was the subject, or a tyrannical father, or something. There's something we're working out right now.
All right. And this may be part and parcel of the idea of the migraines also. For in this way, it is that he may be fighting, quote-unquote, the idea of control, and finds that all the pathways he is now releasing through are constricted.
How could I help him with that, Bashar?
As we have said, communicate to him the idea that he can simply be a valve. Trust that whatever energy he's experiencing is allowing him to become whole in his mind, complete to himself, and under his own control. Remind him that every individual is under control, even when it seems like you are not.
You mean under your own?
Yes.
Okay, it's because the last couple of days he's been doing a disappearing act. And I'm wondering how I can best be a mother and have, I don't know how much control that I should try to exercise over him.
You cannot have any control over him.
What do you do as a parent when they just disappear and you worry about them?
You unconditionally love them and trust that they know what they are doing, even if they think they do not.
Yes, I've been doing it.
All right, then relax.
Patient.
No. Patient is waiting for something that represents an expectation on your part. You are not being unconditional in your love. What they are doing is what they need to do. Now, you can ease that for them by being unconditional. By letting it be all right to experience those things anywhere, including in your presence.
Yes, I think I've been pretty open about that.
All right. Then simply take it for granted that what is going on is a reflection of your openness and nothing else.
That's an idea.
That will be felt by him.
Can you help me reflect on some of the ways we have shared in past lives? I'm curious.
Yes, but not now. Our perception is that you need to be focused in this moment. Although, well, it's up to you to decide whether or not this is going to be judged by you, by him, to be silly or not. However, that never stopped me from suggesting anything. Therefore, what I will suggest is that you give to him a gift. The gift can be what you call a brick or a small block of hard stone. Give him this gift and suggest to him that if he so desires, he may smash it into as many pieces as he wishes to. Pulverize it into dust. Then sift it through his fingers and blow it away into the air. And he will know that all of his own barriers have been broken and dissolved. This will relate to a specific interaction that you would refer to as a past life. When walls were what kept you apart. Literally.
I like that.
Oh, thank you.
I think you'll enjoy Fulbright.
All right. Would you please tell him I said have a good time.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
You referred to me as switcher earlier this evening. Could we explore that term a little more? You finally got around to saying catalyst, which I did understand. I realized that the reason I didn't understand switcher was because I didn't know what I was switching, what the substances or that, I use the term figuratively, what it was I was switching from what to what, in what way.
The idea of allowing different levels to blend through you, within you, in a sense, like what you would call a switch yard. Traffic coming and going in every direction.
I see. Okay, that helps define that concept. Now, what I did with this thing that I described to you, I have conceived of doing with other things. Last time I was here, we were talking about the sun and how mass consciousness determines that the sun causes sunburn and damage and whatnot. And I did have the idea that I could get in touch with the mass consciousness and suggest that we change our minds. How much of this is being done by various individuals on the planet?
In a sense, quite a bit.
Really?
Consciously?
Consciously?
Some of them.
Because it seems like a conscious approach to it, with a great deal of energy behind it, can create quite a bit of change.
Yes, it already has.
Well, you know, I could go wild with this idea.
Have a good time! Thank you!
Another subject, if I may.
All right.
Many years ago, I conceived of what I would consider a matrix of a spherical matrix about the planet of robotic battle stations. And the idea was that they would either keep something in or keep something out, primarily keep us in. And although I don't believe it's exactly that, there was a movie a couple of years ago which had a similar thing they called The Frontier, with a robotic battle station which kept them in or kept others out. I'm wondering, obviously I channeled the same thing or similar thing that the person who wrote the movie.
Our perception is that, let us say, for now, the most likely definition that will suit is a probable parallel reality.
Oh, okay. Parallel Earth reality or parallel? Okay. Well, that sounds really intriguing.
Would you like to visit it?
I'm sorry?
Would you like to visit it?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Along the lines...
In a sense, obviously you already have.
Yeah, certainly I do recognize that.
Brought back your own postcard, so to speak.
What?
Postcard.
Postcard, oh yeah. Indeed. Well, on the subject of channeling things that other people have channeled, I believe that I channeled an idea for a motion picture that somebody else channeled, and they got theirs done before I did.
Synchronicity abounds.
Is it synchronicity, or that I channeled something that...
It's synchronicity.
Well, I do understand it, yes. But I'm wondering if there was a connection such as a counterpart who wrote this particular screenplay that was actually produced. It was a movie.
Can be. We will let you explore that according to your own feelings.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Bashar.
You.
I'm a pianist. I came last week.
All right.
And I've noticed I started practicing a lot more recently.
Practicing?
And playing.
All right.
And I'm enjoying it a lot.
Well, thank you.
However, I've noticed that my right hand is having a lot of difficulty. There's a lot of pain that develops in my forearm that has slowed down my fingers and weakens my right hand. And the bulk of my music is done with my right hand.
Oh. Okay. Well,
I would like to figure out a way for this to not happen anymore.
Play with your left.
Well, I play classical music, and
So?
it's written a lot for the right hand.
I see. Turn the page upside down. Now, you may think, but I am being facetious. However, you will find that if you do, perhaps in fact, turn the page upside down, you will begin to form connections in different portions of your brain. And this will rebalance the neural circuitry. All right?
Okay.
Become a little less structured. All right? Have some fun. Take a break. Go on vacation with the idea of the music. All right?
Okay.
Do not push. Let it flow. Loosen it up a little bit. For now.
Okay.
When you feel the balance, when you become the music, it will flow without strain, without the need to feel that it must be controlled. All right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar.
You may, if you wish, write the idea of what may be referred to as the channeling sonata. That contains within itself the idea of the blending of polarities within the tonal vibrations of music. All right?
I got it.
Let's thank you. Yes!
Everything is going really well.
Yes?
I just have one question.
All right.
I have recently been in quite a bit of contact with someone who started an organization which I was a part of for a while and had quite an interesting experience.
Aye.
During the last week or so, I realized that my exploration of this particular organization was a reflection of my negative self.
All right, if you say so.
It was quite interesting to realize that.
All right.
And
did you have a good time discovering that?
Yes, I did.
Oh, thank you.
Now, also, I have been having some different experiences with, like, this particular person. I think that this person is exploring it as well as myself. Like the different angles on different people who have been and are with this organization. And I've been having some very interesting experiences. One has been that I have been very tired. Another one is for a little while I had an allergy, which has gone away. You know, I think I aligned with that pretty well. One thing that has not gone away is my eyes are very sore and red, and I was wondering if you could give me a little bit of a helper on this particular thing, kind of give me a better understanding of what's happening.
Use your integrated self for now. This is what we can suggest, and energize with your blue-white light some purified water, and in this way, immerse your eyes in that water.
Okay. Okay, I'll try it.
While you are doing that, relax into the understanding. Whether it becomes analytical or not does not matter, but relax into the understanding that everything you are doing for a reason. Let it come to you softly, gently. All right?
Okay. Thank you.
This is our suggestion according to what we perceive of the idea of your consciousness to be at this time.
All right. Thank you.
And, along with that, perhaps one tonal vibration of what you call a bell. Idea that as you ring the bell and listen to the crystalline clarity of the tone, use your imagination and imagine that that tone crystallizes the water. All right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Yes!
What happens when something really excites you and yet you have obligations to do things which don't?
Obligations? Who creates those obligations?
It's a co-creation between you and the other individual.
Yes, well,
Change these obligations.
you can. You can still function within your integrity if you simply recognize something is not your vibration. Then simply utilizing your integrity, rearrange the things that you are doing so that you do not have to do those things anymore. You can also understand that many times when you allow yourself to act upon your excitement and begin to do what excites you the most, many of the things that previously may have seemed like obligations may come back in different forms that will not seem like obligations.
Okay.
You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Trust. All right?
Yeah. Okay, also, another question about relationships.
Yes.
I found this past 6 months or so that I've been in tune with many different individuals and feel a lot of love for all of them.
Nice. So?
Well, it's great.
Nice.
The problem that I have...
Problem! So what? You feel love for all these individuals and you have a problem.
On this planet, yes.
On your planet, yes.
Nailed to the wall, Wrigley.
Yeah, dealing with the set standards of the society.
Set standard of the society. I see. More things that you believe are written in steel.
Well, I feel that they've been programmed into me since I was born.
So, if you know that that is the only reason you are following them, then because you can have the conception of why they are there, you are automatically released from them. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to conceive that there is something else. The perspective, being able to see that there is another way, is in and of itself the release. Because you have to be, in a sense, outside or beyond the idea you think you are trapped within in order to see that idea.
Right, it seems difficult to...
Seems difficult. Another unwritten law. Recognize that many of the things in your society that you base your reasons upon for not doing what you would prefer to do have no more substance than the reasons themselves. Well, I'm doing this or not doing this because of this. But this is just as vague, nebulous, and insubstantial as the reasons. You are only creating more reasons. Follow me.
Sort of.
There is only one fundamental reality for everyone. The fact that you exist. Period. Now, we do recognize that you have, in a sense, made some overall agreements. But you can also recognize that to a very great extent, your ability to even recognize that there can be transformation into something you would prefer is an indication to you that it is probably all right within the mass consciousness agreement to be able to do so.
Okay, yeah, that would be nice.
It is nice. Would be keeps it in the future.
Okay, that's nice.
Fine is. Then have a good time.
I still feel like to be truly in line with myself.
Yes. As if you could be out of alignment. Did you hear me?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
It means that I'm not integrating all the parts of myself.
As if you could be out of alignment with yourself. As if you could be out of alignment with yourself.
Okay, what I mean is to be the vibration
Yes.
that I desire.
If you are not that vibration, how do you even know that such a vibration exists?
Then where, from whence cometh the sensation of being out of alignment with oneself?
By creating the vibration with your belief. By believing
that it's possible.
That it's possible to be out of alignment. By believing that your imagination, your conceptual ability is not as real as your physical reality. By continuing to separate them into two different things instead of one. I have conceived of it, therefore this is what is. I am that I am. Whatever you can conceive of, you are at the moment you conceive of it.
So you can have many different conceptions.
One after another. Choose which one you prefer and act like it. Knowing that the one you prefer is what your reality will reflect. And trusting that everything in your reality, therefore, from that point forward, is a reflection of what you prefer to be. Do not judge that it is not.
Well, I feel like I can't live in this environment and be how I really want to be.
You are missing the point. If you simply take it for granted, right now, that the idea you prefer is in effect, right now, if you exhibit trust to that effect, then you will begin to allow what is going on in your life to be a part of the idea you prefer to be. So that, at whatever rate you are comfortable with, bit by bit, all of the reflections that you have that now, let us say, or used to seem so negative, will begin to transform into more positive reflections. Stop judging where you are so that it can function as a stepping stone to take you where you want to be. If you judge where you are, you can't use it to go on. You follow me? Everything you have ever done in this life or any other life has gotten you where you are. If you invalidate any portion of it, you can't keep going because you are removing a stepping stone by invalidating it. Let what is happening be what is going to get you where you want to be. And the sooner you have that attitude, the sooner it will seem like that is what is happening. Remember, every situation is fundamentally neutral until you supply the meaning. No situation has built-in meaning. The meaning comes from you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bashar? What happens when one individual is benefiting from a relationship and the other is not?
You are always benefiting. If it is your choice to benefit from the relationship by being shown an idea you do not prefer, then you have benefited. Because that idea has given you an opportunity to decide what you do prefer. Once again, you are choosing to look at the situation as something that doesn't benefit you. So you are putting the negative connotation and meaning into a neutral situation.
Okay, so once you understand that this is showing you something you don't want to be, or you don't want to...
Then you can turn it around and recognize that it is giving you an opportunity to decide what you do want to be. Then you will recognize that the situation has served you and it will immediately lose its negative impact in your life. It will slide right through you. It is that simple. That is what you do not believe. It is that simple. You follow me? Thank you. Guys?
Do you believe in guiding spirits?
Guiding spirits. We do recognize that there are levels of consciousness that do wish to be of assistance to other levels of consciousness. In a sense, that can be termed a guiding spirit. However, from our point of view, guiding spirits are doing their jobs when they lure you to more of yourself, not to them.
Someone told me that my guiding spirit was from Madeira.
All right.
Can you elaborate on that?
Simply that there are many connections and many different levels or densities of consciousness which you have co-created an interaction with for the purpose of allowing them to reflect to you portions of yourself that you need to be in touch with so that you can integrate, so that you can know that you are the path you chose to be. Well?
I guess you answered it.
Does that assist you?
Well, yeah, the person that told me that my guiding spirit was from Madeira was somewhat of a pirate-like person who...
Pirate?
Yeah, who's very spontaneous and free-spirited and crazy and you know, they were saying that you need to just let yourself go and just do the things that you want to do because you're a very powerful individual.
Everyone is.
Okay.
Now, has that individual allowed you to become your own guiding spirit?
The individual that told me this?
Okay.
Or I'm beginning to recognize it.
That you are your own guiding spirit, first and foremost. Then you can recognize the way in which guiding spirits work. They get you in spirit. You follow me? Yes. Everyone is a reflection. Therefore, everyone is a guiding spirit for everyone else. To allow everyone to know they are their own best guiding spirit. That is the job of a guiding spirit. Physical or non-physical, it doesn't matter. You follow me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, you might find, maybe, This in our perception can go many different ways, but you may find that the energy in our perception that was referred to by that individual is a non-physiological, what you would call higher density consciousness that you have formed a co-arrangement with. Whether or not it needs to manifest in any more symbolic physiological terms than that will be determined by you. You may not need that blatant of a symbol. If you already recognize that you are your own master, you will simply do what you want to do. All right? Have a good time. Oh, thank you. You may. Oh! Take a short break. All right, allow me to bid each and every one of you a fond and loving good morning. For at this junction in our interaction, it is where I am upon my own planet, Dawn. Therefore, in this way, allow me to proceed with another idea. The idea you have discussed, once again, of recognizing your own existence of psychic potential, integration and connection and linking to the idea of other mentality, which, as we have said, telepathically speaking, is always emotionally activated, and thus you understand that the idea, as we have said, of individuals you recognize to be loving to each other most often exhibit the idea of understanding each other's thoughts. Now, therefore, recognizing that the idea is that to love them is to know them. In this sense, what you call psychic functioning, again, is your natural birthright. It is a spontaneous connection to more of yourself in that way and to the recognition of the interaction you are having with another individual. The idea many times, however, of your society's, let us say, attempt to categorize the idea of psychic functioning within its standard structure of scientific analysis many times will, in your terms, not yield the results you expect for several reasons. First of all, it is a spontaneous interaction and many times not subject to the idea of rigorous control. For it is a living process, a living interaction, and many times the idea of the sterilization of the conditions in which the idea is attempted to be forced to exist will not be indicative nor conducive to the idea of the spontaneous emotional surge that is usually present when psychic interaction takes place in your day-to-day occurrences spontaneously. Recognize also these two things, therefore. The idea of psychic function will always yield to the simplest way to access information, and will always contain activities based upon the degree of desire for the information. Thus you will find that while it is not impossible in many cases for circumstances to be enacted as you wish them to, as you call upon them consciously, recognize many times that very often when, let us say, to use the example you have used in your civilization many times, someone wishes you to, quote-unquote, tell them what they are thinking, what they have in their pocket, or what they did that morning. Recognize simply that the first criterion of the fact that psychic function will always yield to the simplest way to access the information will simply yield to the obvious. Someone there already knows the information. Therefore, psychic functioning will bow to the understanding that the easiest way to access the information is to simply ask or say the idea if you already know it. The second idea will be indicative of when it is possible for an individual to simply know those type of things, is because they immediately have the idea of a spontaneous desire to link with the identity of that individual in that way, and if the individual is open enough to allow such a link, then the other individual can know what the so-called answer is in that way. But the idea of the ease of the flow and the desire must be present, or there will be no connection in that sense. So you will find that many times the idea of asking someone, well, what did I eat for breakfast today, basically yield the response, well, I don't care. So the idea will not elicit enough desire for the other individual to function psychically with regard to that particular circumstance. This does not mean that that same individual may not all of a sudden spontaneously know what that other individual may have had for breakfast if, for some reason, the desire or the need is strong enough for that individual to know, perhaps even sometimes beyond the interaction later on, when the idea of the pressure is off and the first individual has once again lowered their screens. For in this way, many times, when individuals request that another individual's psychic function on command, they are actually creating a challenge. And in that way, what they are doing is taking all of the accessibility of the information and closing it all up and saying, I'll bet you can't get this. Wow. Therefore, there is no ability, no opportunity for the emotional exchange that is the fundamental necessity of psychic functioning. That is why, once again, you recognize that individuals who exhibit the quality, as you have said, of being in love, will very generally always know what the other is thinking before the other one says it. It is because they are flowing together with empathic understanding. All telepathy and psychic functioning really, in a sense, is more or less empathy. Identification with. If you cannot identify, if you cannot become, in a sense, congruent with someone else, then the realities will, more often than not, remain separated in that way. You follow me?
Yeah.
Sure! Right? Day.
I had a wonderful insight that I want to share.
All right.
Earlier. It was about a question I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you.
Speak up.
I was going to ask you what restlessness means.
Restlessness.
Yes. And the reason why is because I'm a painter.
Right.
I'm a Venetian artist.
Right.
And as far back as I can remember, that was always what I wanted to do. There was never any question in my mind.
Yeah.
And lately I've noticed when I'm painting, I'll start working and I get very restless.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm...
What else is it you think you should be doing instead?
What I got was, it suddenly occurred to me that I thought, Carol, the reason why you're feeling restless is because you're painting for money. I'm thinking that if I allow myself to take time off,
right,
then I won't make enough money to pay the bills and the rent and et cetera, et cetera.
Oh.
So it's like pushing myself to paint
All right.
instead of flowing it.
Yeah. And allowing the universe to support whatever you do by allowing enough money or any other tool that is necessary to continue to be there in whatever amount it needs to be there to simply support you in the idea that you are.
Right. It's like I feel like, oh, I just can't take time off. I mean, how long can I take off? You know, or there won't be any money and all this kind of thing.
But understand that it's not that you are taking off from something. It is that you are doing what you wish, being the idea that you prefer to be, and allowing universal abundance to support you in whatever way is necessary to allow you to continue to be the idea you prefer to be. If money is necessary to do that, then it will automatically be there in exactly the amounts that are necessary to do so. But all the other tools of abundance that will allow you to continue to be who you wish to be will also be there. Sometimes money, sometimes not.
Right. There has been a lot of abundance that isn't necessarily money.
Right.
Just wanted to share that.
Well, thank you very much for your own self-cognition.
Thank you.
You have painted a pretty picture. Thank you.
Bashar.
Thank you.
You mentioned, we've discussed a couple of times the communications with the dolphin civilization had with other civilizations.
Okay.
Was this primarily on an emotional, empathic, telepathic level, or was it?
Yes.
And how do these interchanges occur? Are they consciously aware that they're talking or with another civilization?
Yes.
And the sharings are in terms of feelings, or concepts? Or
Basically, yes.
Can you detail that for me a little bit? Give me some. I'm interested in the kinds of interchanges that occur or do occur.
Simply, there is what you would call, first of all, the basic education or simply learning as to what the other civilizations are all about and the teaching of what theirs is about. And there is also the recognition that since they are being of assistance to you in your transformation, then there is also the, let us say, correlation or coordination of information to allow them to do so at the same time that everyone else is also doing so.
Now, would a specific dolphin pick on a specific individual in
Can.
civilization?
It can, yes. There are many opportunities for many different ways of forming those connections.
And the dolphin consciousness is consciously aware of being able to do that, much as I would contact someone in your civilization.
If that is what they are doing, they are conscious of it.
And is that what they are doing? That's
some of them, yes. Not all of them.
And do you have a varying scan of interest and talents among the dolphins?
To some degree, yes, to some degree. Although they are a little bit more, in a sense, homogeneous than you.
Okay, thank you, Bashar.
Thank you.
Bashar.
One moment.
Bashar, yes. I finally got my emerald in the mail.
Hey!
Several weeks ago, you recommended I get that. You suggested I get an emerald.
Speak up.
You suggested I get an emerald to assist with the slipping of the plates of my skull, which were a reflection of the slipping of the plates of the earth.
All right.
And so I got the emerald 2 days ago.
Right.
And then I didn't know what to do with it.
You don't?
So I used my imagination.
Ah, then you did know what to do with it.
Okay. And so I taped it on my third eye, where it is
All
right now.
Does it like being there?
Yes, it does.
It is a very good view of everything.
My son thinks it looks like a green booger.
All right.
It's been on my forehead 2 days, and I feel it's connected with my energy, and I'm wondering if you have any other suggestion of what else I should do with it.
What happened to your imagination?
Wonder, you know. I kind of ran out of ideas.
Ran out of ideas? Perhaps that is only because now is the opportunity to do something with the energy that you have.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Jack?
Sure.
You gonna pick me up again?
Continue.
I've had an interesting phenomenon occur, and it has to do with I think I understand it. I make a conscious decision to have everything go extremely well.
To know that everything always goes extremely well.
Right. And then I have things occur like flat tires.
So what? So what? So what? Why can that not fit in to the definition that you know? It is still something that represents the idea that you are, and it's still a reflection that everything is going perfectly.
Because it wasn't the product that I envisioned to complete.
That, as we have said, is not the point. When you put expectation on your visualization, then you only make the visualization you have had the only acceptable one. You are simply using your visualization as a model for the energy. Whatever it is that does happen is still a reflection of the energy that you had in the visualization, whether it comes in an unexpected form or not. That is the whole point. Not that you cannot have a literal manifestation of your visualization, but you don't have to. It will come in the way that truly does serve you best, in the easiest possible way. And it comes along, and you judge it to be not part of the path, so do not give it an opportunity to serve you.
That seems to be, I can understand the concept.
All right, let's put it this way. You have, let us say, a visualization that you are driving your automobile, You are on your way to meet someone who will be of benefit for one of the ideas that you are very excited about doing. You follow me?
Yeah, I do.
While you are driving, you have your flat tire. You trust that it is for a reason according to the idea you know you are. And lo and behold, the person that stops to assist you is someone who can help you better than the one you are going to meet.
Interesting concept.
When you let that be the synchronistic reality, it will be more than a concept for you. It will be your reality.
So it's the trusting.
Yes. That is all that's necessary to allow it to become the physical reality. Just the trust. That's it.
I figure if you put it out about 10 more times, we'll have it. You're finally getting there.
Oh, Frankie. Expectation, as we have been discussing it, is usually, once again, more judgment. The idea that something must happen the way you specifically conceive of it, or it won't be valid. Putting expectations in that way. Now recognize, you do not want to be bored. But the idea of the visualization, again, while it can be literal, will usually simply be a model, a template for whatever it is that does in fact need to happen to bring you the effect of the visualization that you had. Recognize, if something happens in your life that does in fact bring you the effect you want, you're not going to care if it happens exactly as you visualized it or not, because it will feel correct. Therefore, when you put expectation upon it that says this is the only way it can happen, you are automatically closing all of the other doors through which it might be able to happen, perhaps even more quickly than the way you have visualized it. You follow me?
Yes.
But the unexpected is the way it will usually come to you to keep your life exciting.
Bashar.
Frankie?
There are many people who don't realize that what is happening for a reason, and that that's the best thing to happen at that time.
Yes.
And when people have expectations of interaction,
Yes.
and they don't go the way that they had hoped,
Yes.
they're often disappointed or
Yes.
angry.
Of course. But they are setting themselves up for the disappointment by not letting the relationship be what it is. If you simply interact in a relationship for what it is, you can't be disappointed because you expect nothing else other than what it is.
That's great.
That's very clever.
As an individual in a relationship, I can't be responsible for those people's expectations because they created them.
Correct. As long as you are functioning within full integrity and openness about what your reality is, then you always give them an accurate, let us say, reflection of who and what you are. Thus, anything beyond that point is the end of your responsibility to them, not for them, to them. From that point forward, you cannot be responsible for what they choose to feel based upon what you have given them.
You have to act with integrity.
It's to be integrated, to trust that the vibration that is true for you is what is true for you, is the reality you prefer. That is what you communicate to the individual you are interacting with, so that they truly are dealing with you. Thus, then, their action and or reaction will be to you, and not to what you are creating to be, let us say, a quote-unquote false image of you. Recognize once again that the idea, to use your term of problem for a moment, the idea of most problems that occur in relationships is not so much from what is said, but from what is not said. So when you are open about who you are and what you are, you always give the other individual the best opportunity to truly react to you. so that they know who they're dealing with.
Bashar.
Juliet!
Oh, I think I'm going to explode. So what's going on? Just a figure of speech.
Oh.
I had a realization when Rick was talking about
a
realization, exactly. Why it is that so often we seem to have much more difficulty and quote unquote problems with our love relationships than we do with our friendships.
Right.
And it seems because we put so many more expectations on our lovers than we do with our friends who are friends.
Well, you're just a friend, so the way you are is all right, but you're my lover, you better be perfect. Of course, they do not realize that everyone as they are is exactly perfect as they are, for what they are being.
But isn't it nice that we're now realizing that?
Oh, thank you.
Also, there was something else I wanted to share. When John was talking, it reminded me of something that happened to me about 6 months ago with a flat tire.
Oh, thank you for the information you saw there. See how everything serves. Everything.
We can call this flat tires.
Right.
At any rate, I was going to a workshop in Malibu, and I just had timed it to leave exactly right, and went outside, and I had a flat tire, and I thought, oh no, this is going to throw everything off. And I thought, okay, no, I'm going to be totally calm, and I'm just going to handle this. I'm not going to worry about being late. I'm just going to do whatever it needs to do, and I'm just going to be... And instantly I felt totally calm and very much at ease. So I went inside, called the auto club, and they said, well, we'll send somebody out within half hour. So I thought, okay. And then I realized I should call the workshop and let them know I was going to be late, and just check on the directions, which I did, and found out that the directions that I had been going to follow were totally wrong, and I probably would have never gotten there. And I had no sooner, in fact, I hadn't even hung up the phone when the guy from the auto club was there. It hadn't even been 5 minutes. And I went outside, and he had already fixed the tire. It was just...
My.
It was magic.
It is magic.
Yeah.
Everything in life is magic.
Well, you know, Bashar, I love
when
you say that. I love it because I've had this realization so many times, and that incident it was perfect. It worked out absolutely perfectly.
Of course.
And I didn't have to get upset, and I didn't get upset, and it was wonderful. I've got to share something else. I'm on a roll. About 5 years ago, speaking of magic, I had a realization that everything is magic.
Right.
And the analogy that I used for myself and the friend that I was sharing this idea was an acorn. I said, take an acorn, for instance. You drop it in the ground, and you get this magnificent, enormous oak tree. Now, the only reason we don't perceive that as magic is because we have created the idea of time and taking 50 years or so. If it happened instantly, we'd say, magic!
Right.
But it's still magic.
Right. The creation of the 50 years is also magic.
Thank you.
Realize, in a sense, there are many levels of consciousness that experience the ideas of things instantaneously, that look at your reality, see the creation of time, and say, what magic?
What a great idea. What a wonderful viewpoint. Yeah.
Bashar? Along similar lines, I had this concept one time that if you were a discarnate being looking down on our reality, on our physicality, you might view all these what we consider solid walls and chair seats and tables as very, very porous.
Right.
And here we are, beings who are so capable that we can take one porous surface, such as the seat of our bodies, and meet it with another very, very porous surface, which is the chair, and just cause them to stop right there without going to another.
Put it this way, you are simply, in a sense, this is a little bit colloquial, but it will do, you are simply the idea that as you interact, you are relaxing. So it translates through the physiological object you have created to indicate that you are relaxing. The chair. You sitting on a chair gives you the impression, and everyone else the impression, that while you are interacting, you are doing so in a state of relaxation.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, I have another thing, if I may. I have a tremendous affinity for certain, how would I call them, mock-ups of society that I've seen in several movies. One being Blade Runner, another being Soylent Green, wherein a very high-tech society coexisted with kind of a very survival level of society. And
are you tapping into the parallel probabilities again?
I don't know, but I have a tremendous affinity for that society. I think it's less a parallel probability as it is something that I'm actually involved in, some other aspect of my beingness. Because I have a tremendous affinity.
Well, that is what we mean. Another aspect of your being is in that parallel probable reality.
Okay, I was misunderstanding what you meant by probable, but now I see what you're saying.
Hey, probable to you, real to them.
Well, probable to me in this reality, but also real to me in that other reality.
Yes.
And I have a feeling that a tremendous satisfaction with my life and whatever it is that I'm doing.
Thank you.
Can you help me pinpoint where it is that I am and what it is that I'm doing?
Well, in this way, you are learning there, just like you are learning here. Now, how to where? How do you mean that? For there would be no specific identification other than the frequency, so to speak, of that reality.
I see what you're saying. In other words, it would not, if it's parallel, obviously it's not in my own density, perhaps,
and it is not the only parallel reality. There's an infinite number of them. How would we label that one as to number?
Yeah, I was thinking that it would be within my own dimensional reality, on another planet, perhaps.
On another parallel Earth.
Another parallel Earth, I see. What am I doing there?
Having a good time, I suppose.
That's true. I get the impression that it is of a technical nature.
Yes, it is scientific, as you call it.
Well, in what?
Although, perhaps you might recognize the emotional content also on behalf of that portion of that individual to be a little bit paranoid.
Really?
Well, yes, in a sense.
In what sense?
Defense-oriented sense.
Like ordnance kind of defense?
In a sense. Like the United States. A little bit.
That's interesting. Because I don't know what you're picking up, but I perceive a tremendous amount of satisfaction, and I don't get the idea of paranoia. Or
no. It would seem so to you if you were to relate to that particular society. But not to the society.
I see. So
it seems quite natural.
Is the whole society of that nature?
Yes.
That's interesting.
In other words, you would think of it perhaps as a militia-type society, to whom that is a very natural way to express themselves, by building layers and shells and all sorts of scientific, technological defenses and things like that.
They must be enjoying themselves doing that.
In a sense, yes. It is not so much that they are, in a sense, truly under attack, although parts of their history have spurred the idea. But it is that they do recognize some idea of connections, but they are, in a sense, fundamentally a little bit, let us say, the foundation of the society is a little bit on the idea of the paranoid side in assuming that they do, in fact, need all those shells. However, at this time, it is so integrated within their society, it does not seem to be a conscious foundational reason for what they are doing. It is simply, quote-unquote, to them, the way it is.
I see. As you speak, as you speak, what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but in terms of the feelings that I get from this affinity for this society, it's not connecting. Are we talking about maybe, are you tuning into another society from what I'm talking about?
In a sense, what we are saying is, you are picking up on the fascination. There is no sense of paranoia within the individual.
Yeah.
But the foundational reason for why it all started was for the paranoia. But not now. Now it is for the fascination.
Okay. All right. Okay. I've attracted myself to fluorite recently, last night, in fact.
Good.
And the more irregular crystalline formations, the six-sided things, have not. I found kind of
the idea of the octahedral shape will have more affinity to electromagnetic fields,
as opposed to what field?
As opposed to the expression of the electromagnetic field in more etheric ways. This will be an expression of the electromagnetic field more in the idea of geomagnetic expressions, actual electronic conductivity.
Ah. Okay. So there's some other what's the word I want to look for here? Some other application, yeah. Because I'm fascinated by it.
In this way, you will find that the idea of your so-called counterpart on the probable parallel reality utilizes a device that at their heart, at their core, have the idea of their version of the fluorite crystal, deep violet in shade, ranging to blue, to act as a, now not exactly as we have been discussing it, but to some extent a synchronicity meter.
How does that
Now,
work?
this counterpart you're referring to is the one we've just been discussing?
Yes.
That's
one of the devices, let us say, would take a reading on the rate of time flow. For in this way you will find that much of the idea for the shells they have built is because of their inherent ingrained belief in the need to solidify the reality they are in, or it will merge with other dimensions.
I see. That's wild, because
it is that they believe they need a stabilization of their particular dimensional frequency, so from time to time they will use this device to check upon where perhaps weaknesses have occurred in the dimensional field, and so they can mend the rip, so to speak, in the fabric of the interdimensional space.
Yeah, and of course the device can be used in the reverse fashion to loosen and defocus.
Oh yes, but that is a crime there.
Well, yes, but if I were to use it here, it would not be a crime.
Oh, no.
Because last night when I was looking at these things for the first time, I was attracted to the deepest purple, and the rest of them didn't have much meaning for me.
Well, what?
The biggest.
What you can do is you can utilize that crystal and form your own synchronization with that counterpart cell. In a sense, you can follow his whereabouts by tapping in.
How would I do that? Would it be
your imagination, but utilizing the symbol of the crystal to simply recognize that there is a certain frequency pulse, and when you identify with it, then you will put yourself in a state of being that will allow you to simply follow his activities in your imagination.
Okay. Is there a place on the body that would...
You'll simply hold it in your hand, perhaps hold it up, perhaps in this way look at it for a while, or simply meditate on it while you are holding. You can put it in the chakra of your intention, your solar plexus, as well as your third eye. You can even in your turn suspend it above your crown chakra, and you can hold it at the base of your neck or the base of your spine. All will form similar connections in different aspects and portions of this counterpart.
Yes. I asked you several months ago about the time, frame rate of time, and you declined to answer me. And I'm wondering if, what sounds like what you're saying is that this
will give you an indication of the pulse rates of different time frames.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for co-creating the timing.
Bashar,
yes.
May I put this to you? I have recently been in Sedona,
yes.
And while there, I was channeled a new name for myself.
All right.
And
I went there to open myself to start to write a book that I feel is necessary.
Right.
And while writing, I was handled the name. A voice came to me and said, "You're doing very well, Teo, T-A-Y-O."
Right.
And I said, "My, I like that name." And they said, "That is your name." And I, of course, have been going by a name that I have not been comfortable with all my life.
Such as?
My name is Faye, F-A-Y-T.
Right.
And this name Teo came to me, and I feel very comfortable with
it. That is because you are now forming alignments to the concept and idea of your higher self vibration and losing connections to the archetypal symbology of your physiological self.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'll do nothing. The idea means that the vibrational signature, Faye, has to do with putting her energy in symbolic representations according to what is drawn from the mass sub-consciousness of your physical reality. The idea of Teo, which is also very similar to the idea of Tao, will be more of an alignment to the vibration that represents her fourth density self. So it is the revamping, the re-identification of the vibration of the being she knows herself to be, so that now she can recognize that she is a different idea, a new reality.
Then you suggest then it would be to my betterment to use the name Teo from here on out?
It is up to you. If you feel comfortable with it, so inclined, then simply utilize it. It is not so much for the betterment, but simply that you find it is what represents the signature vibration of your being. If it is what is comfortable, utilize it as a tool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you once again. Jay!
My relationship with my mother is filled with much disharmony.
Oh. Repeat after me.
Yes.
My relationship. As my mother.
My mother.
If you are also your mother, and your mother is also you, why have you co-created the idea that it is disharmonious?
Well, I don't know, but...
In what way do you perceive it to be disharmonious?
Well, generally whenever we get together for communication, it tends to be full of strife.
Do you mean because you are accepting the belief system that you must convince them of your point of view and that they must convince you of theirs?
I would say some of that's going on.
All right. Simply, as you are a reflection to other individuals, if you know what is the vibrational truth for you, be that. Whatever they wish to offer you in return, take it as an offering. And say thank you, no thank you. That is all there is to it. There isn't need for disharmony in that way. And the more willing you are to simply reflect that you are being what is true for you, the more opportunity you give to another individual to also recognize that they can simply choose what is true for them, and that what is true for them and what is true for you are both real realities. There is no background, one real reality against which other realities are measured for their degree of accuracy or truth. The truth is composed of all truth. So simply it is your opportunity to recognize that what you hear from her are other truths in the truth. If some of them vibrate according to your truth, then integrate them. If they don't.
Okay, great, thank you.
Look, fine, you can still be unconditionally loving because she is presenting you with opportunities to view that many more ways than all that it has of expressing different truths. So it rounds out your ability to recognize other points of view and to let them serve you and to serve them in return. Thank you.
Bashar.
Yay!
Tomorrow morning, I Tomorrow morning I'm sending my body over to Salt Lake City.
Oh, have a good time.
I'm going to show up with it, and we're going to take part in the International Convention of the Society for the Preservation and Encouragement of Barbershop Quartet Singing in America Incorporated. And I would like to invite you, the people of Epithani, and everybody here to join in at any time, and I'll be channeling through various highly enjoyable harmonies. You might enjoy having vibrating in your universe. So I just want to offer that as an invitation.
Thank you. Our energy is always present wherever you wish to partake of it. We will enjoy the idea of the tonal feedback.
And we'll add one more person to your triad and get a little harmony.
The triad, when combined, forms the concept of a fourth.
Right.
That is harmony. Thank you. You. Then you.
When we're talking about the society, this parallel society, it was like Soylent Green or whatever. I started coughing.
Oh.
And I just have this like this itch.
Maybe you are a street sweeper. Don't be kidding. Maybe.
Yeah, I do have a strong. I guess I feel like.
All right.
My heart chakra, something about my heart chakra, about that kind of society, because I don't share his love of it.
All right. You have had exposure to some of those things, and you may have found them distasteful, so you are trying to spit it out. But in this way, again, simply recognize you are only aligning with more portions of yourself so that you can integrate them, and that has been a synchronistic service to you to see that reflection.
Lately, I find myself though when somebody else has something going on in one of their chakras, I will feel it in mine.
Okay. Again, the empathy. The recognition that all is one.
Right.
That you are all connected and relating to each other. You are all in a relationship together.
Is there anything to do with that? Just love it? Is there any way to allow that to flow through more easily, or just the same way you allow it when
Let's see. As you say, gee. I don't know. Maybe there is. What do you think?
I think that
you think it's already done.
What's already done?
It is integrated.
Yeah.
You will not sound too true.
I just was thinking of certain other things that have occurred within the last couple of weeks where this has happened, and like in one case I just had a tremendous swollen gland right after hanging out with somebody, and it lasted a whole week until something occurred in their own space, and I felt it in my space, and then my thought vanished.
You are once again forming an empathic identification. Simply realize you can do so without necessarily taking on the symbolic negativity of that way.
I'd like to.
Oh, you can. Simply realize once again that all that is allowing you to create it to that extent is the belief within you that you can be of assistance to them at the same time. There is a little bit of remnant, no offense, martyrdom.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
So in this way, you simply have not yet completely consciously integrated the understanding that to help them, to assist them, to help them help themselves, you do not have to take it on as a burden.
Yeah.
All right? But you are being loving. So simply love yourself as well. Then you will channel this as a type of energy that does not need to manifest in that way.
Right.
Thank you.
Sean,
Yes.
how would you define guilt?
The opposite of love. Not hate. Guilt.
Repeat the question.
How would you define guilt? It is the opposite of love. Not hate is the opposite of love, but guilt. And what is hate? Hate is another variation of the idea of love after having passed through judgment.
So when you feel little twinges of guilt, like you feel like maybe you let someone down and not done what was expected of you?
Now there are different types of the idea that you may be recognizing. One of them may simply be your cognition that perhaps you were functioning outside of your integrity. And in this way, it is simply an opportunity to recognize the alignment that can recenter you. But guilt of judgment as the opposite of love, since love is the knowing deservability and worthiness of all, guilt is the belief in worthlessness, lack of deservability.
And probably closer to what I get. Okay, that's very helpful.
All that is loves you unconditionally, proving it by creating you. Now, why should you not grant yourself the same respect and unconditional love that is given to you automatically by all that is? All that is thinks you deserve it. Why don't you?
I don't know. Why do you think we do that?
Again, perhaps simply because once you decided to explore limitation, one of the things you forgot is that you are worth loving. That you are actually love itself. That is all. All you need to do is remember that you are made of love. And then everything will be an act of love.
Are those just little remnants of past judgment left over when you feel little twinges?
Yes, in a sense, yes.
I know it's getting a lot better.
It is what it is.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
One moment.
In 1978,
Nellie, speak up.
In 1978, I spent a year in Crete writing a book. And something about that time feels like loose ends unconnected.
Loose ends.
Loose ends, yes. And the book was...
Speak up.
The book... Wow, I sound loud to myself.
Yeah, but those people back
barely
there
hear
can't hear you at all.
The book involved, it was a science fiction book, and the book involved a crystal planet, a planet that had been crystallized.
Okay.
The other planet involved high technology in which the struts, or the superstructure of the planet, were embedded in crystal sort of beds. So and the crystals had then, over evolution, taken on lives of their own. And so there was this whole thing about crystals on both of these worlds.
Right.
The people lived in, of the one planet, had a configuration of 9. Instead of a family structure as we know it, they lived in 8, there were 8 almost functions, or participating in sort of spot roles, positions, or something.
And off to.
Oh, okay, yes. And an implied 9th point then.
The blending of it all.
Ah. Okay. Well, anyway, the book had all these kinds of things in it that I'm just finding out now have all kinds of connections, as you just said. I didn't finish the book. I only got half of it done. And then it's sort of been a loose end, a sort of dangling loose end. And there was a lot
Perhaps simply because you are not ready at that time to understand that you can totally and do totally create your own reality. For the idea, the symbolic presentation of the crystalline world is, in a sense, a literal representation. The idea is that there is such a world, and in that world is where individual beings can go from many civilizations to have manifested, while in the influence of that world, everything they imagine while still physically alive. In other words, it is like actually living physically in a dream, instantaneously created in the crystal world. It lets you know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that you create your reality.
Does that have any relation to the dark crystal moon?
No. Not as you mean it. Thank you!
Bashar?
No. One moment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is my first meeting with you, Bashar. What is your definition of love?
All that is. Does that assist you?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, in a all that is way.
Ah, how convenient. When we refer to the idea all that is, we are referring to what your society usually labels as God. All that is love. Everything is created from love. Everything is love. That is what love is. It is the substance itself of existence. So when you feel that vibration, is when you know you are creating the idea of yourself to be in harmonious, synchronized alignment with all that is. Will that suffice as a definition for you? Or do you wish to explore this idea further?
I just had this experience of like almost being blown backwards with the enormity of what you just said.
Yay! That may be the sensation that is common when you make a connection from a particular reality that has been used to limitation. The experience of rushing headlong to meet yourself. Infinite acceleration. However, you will find that also infinite acceleration means you are everywhere at once. Being everywhere at once will and can also feel like standing perfectly still, and therefore gives you the sensation of ultimate peace and love. Will that do?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
then
Thank you.
simply love. That says it all. Thank you. All right.
Okay. What does it mean when you click your teeth together?
I do not click. My
All right.
the idea to some extent is one physiological translation of my mental laughter.
I listened to a tape of last year where apparently you opened your eyes that time and somebody asked you about it.
You mean the physiological channel pi?
Yeah. Yes.
There will be flickering from time to time to allow there to be more blending of the consciousnesses between us that we have become.
I have asked you once before, but I'll ask again. Do you think that in time Daryl will be opening his eyes?
Well, if it was outside of time, he probably wouldn't have eyes to open. So in time, it will be. Yes. But in this way, the idea for this particular physiological channel will be, therefore, a sign of the idea of more utilization of his own higher consciousness.
And less of you?
In a sense, yes, but in another sense, more, because we will be, in that sense, more blended, even though we will still remain as distinct beings. We are forming a third identity.
That way. And then, I forgot.
If you are his future self,
Yes.
then are both of you aspects of the same higher consciousness?
Yes. The same whole soul.
The same.
There are different definitions of the idea of higher consciousness. We are simply referring to the idea of the portion of the whole soul that is given the job of functioning as the higher consciousness relative to your Earth system. In other words, the potential of what an individual can become within force density on your world. That higher self. That future self.
Well, I'll use your term, whole soul, is that your term?
In a sense, yes.
So that you and the physiological channel are just two different aspects
of the whole soul.
Of the same whole soul.
Hey.
And that whole soul then has the job of functioning as a, quote, higher consciousness.
In a sense for both of us, but the higher consciousness I was specifically referring to is what the physiological channel will view as what it is he is becoming relative to your time track.
And the void destiny.
Yes.
Got it.
And then when you form this third identity, you still are yourself on Ethicani, and it's just a third part of your whole soul.
In a sense, it is, yes, a co-creation to allow there to be a type of re-identification so that the individual you would functionally recognize as the physical channel will become another type of individual, another persona.
Okay, but then he won't actually need to channel or go through the process of a trend.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Yes.
I was wondering, since you're talking about parallel realities,
Yes.
or
Multi-dimensional universes, yes.
Yes. Well, there's something that sometimes happens. There's documentation of people finding this on this planet where ships are found at sea and the crew is totally...
Some of those are instances of going through dimensional warps of different types. Yes.
What happens to those people? Like
different things according to the differences in the warps. Some of them will transfer to other parallel realities. The majority of them will simply become instantaneously non-physical.
Is there any particular reason? Is it some...
that is according to those individuals. There are as many reasons as there are individuals who co-create that experience.
Well, there's apparently that it happens in certain areas on the
yes,
planet.
Because you have a mass-conscious electromagnetic awareness that fluctuates in relatively regular patterns. Those energy vortices represent the doorway from your dimension to others. It pulses with a certain type of regularity because your dimension, like any other dimension, has a certain crystalline quality. And so it will have a regularity structure to its pattern in an electromagnetic sense.
How about there's been stories that some of these people, like during the war, planes have disappeared, and then like many years later, the plane has appeared again, and the same crew is on it, and they don't recognize where they are. They're picked up on radio and stuff like that. Is that?
This is, in your terms, relatively rare.
Yes, it is. It's not documented. What has occurred at that point?
Simply the idea, once again, that they have skipped over the intervening moments that they would have considered to be the normal continuum of time flow.
So in their experience, time didn't pass.
Correct.
One other question. There's various, ideas of what happens to a being in between lives.
Okay.
Could you comment on that? Well, I have various...
you have co-created there to be many so-called different levels of non-physical existence, and the primary understanding is that whatever belief, first of all, you carry with you into the idea of death will be what you immediately experience the afterlife to be. Therefore, you will find that as you gain more and more understanding of where you now are, it will become more and more malleable, allowing you to recognize that you are a thought form in a world of thought form, and that what you imagine is instantaneously reality to you. You also gain the idea of an overview of all you have ever been on certain levels, and in this way can incorporate these understandings of yourself and decide whether you wish to or not experience another physiological life or do something else. There are many different experiences in those different levels and realms. In general, however, it is simply the recognition that you have created all the lives you have experienced and are now free to create whatever else you wish on any level of experience, physical and non-physical. Many individuals, however, because of the belief systems that they have had in your society, may, for a time, not, in a sense, even know they are dead. These are what you call the hauntings or ghosts, so to speak. They simply are going on as if they are typically physically alive. And as we have said, the original purpose for what you have come to call an exorcist is to simply be a ghost psychologist. To let them know they are in fact dead and they are fine and they can go on about their business and don't have to remain attached in that way to the physical plane. Now, also, because of the different belief systems, once again, you will find that because their thought is the thing, individuals who have had beliefs about what the afterlife will be will usually experience that idea immediately. Now, if it is something that they have believed would be unpleasant, then it probably will not take them too very long to change it. Because as soon as they have the idea that they wish it were different, it is. And many times, the idea of individuals, so to speak, that you will meet in the so-called afterlife, that you would, quote-unquote, recognize as someone that has gone on before you, can be portions of that consciousness, but also many times you will find that simply other, let us say, neutral consciousnesses will also be there to take that reflection if that is what you need to assist you over. Then, as you begin to understand where you are, they will become more and more neutral, more themselves.
Bashar?
Does that answer your question?
Yes, I just had one other thing to ask.
Okay.
When, a person has died, takes up another body, there's children that they know who they are and then they forget.
Hey.
Is that
not that you have to.
Right. Well,
it has simply once again been the habit because of all the limitation and separation. Now this is the transformational life. You will find that the children being born now are more prone to remember and not forget. Many of them will remind the parents. Thank you.
Bashar, thank you. Before you got to the neutral personality, you were saying something, and I missed it. And it was in the...
You mean the idea that what you believe the afterlife is what you experience?
And then you went a little further into something about neutral personality to exist.
Well, simply the idea that many times you will find that as you quote-unquote cross over, you will meet the consciousness that you may expect to meet of people that have gone on before you. In this way, in a sense, many of them may be the quote-unquote original consciousness, but many may not. Many may be the idea of spirit guides or levels of consciousness that simply know that the best way to assist you over is to represent the reflection you think you need to see to let you know you're all right. Then, once you become stabilized in your new environment, they will take back their old identities.
Thank you.
Sure.
You. Yes,
Thank you. I just, a few minutes ago, connected with the idea of myself as a crystal. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that concept several times over the last year and a half, but I just got another perspective that I'd never gotten before.
Each and every one of you is your own master crystal. Your own best tool in that way.
Is there a particular gemstone or crystal that
after I just told you you're your master crystal?
I don't believe it yet.
Smoky quartz.
Thank you.
Has there been an invader force on this planet?
Invader force?
Yeah, I've been led into understanding of an invader force that would implant beings with the forgetter
Yes, there has been. You. You implanted your own forgetters.
And there have been civilizations from other planets come here, and is there a Marquette Confederacy?
In a sense, to some degree, but recognize this. any ideas of any so-called negativity that you may feel you may be able to experience is only because you would co-create an agreement to do so. No one can force anything upon you. You follow me?
Yeah. So did these take place? Or is it...
To some degree. But most of the idea is mostly in terms that are more symbolically representative than physiologically literal. Because once again, the idea is simply that when you agree to create, to co-create those types of interactions, you yourself become a part of that so-called confederacy of negativity. And therefore, an agent is already there. You become that agent. That is how the idea spreads, through fear. The fear that it is more powerful than the reality you know to be true for you. That is how the idea, quote unquote, of conquering other civilizations occurs. The fear on the part of the civilization that it can be conquered turns them into extensions of the ones they fear. The ones they fear automatically know that, and therefore are instantaneously bonded in negative energy with them.
Is that how a principal way that Orion operates?
Yes. You follow me?
Yes.
Then forward! What reality are you? Do you wish to feed the idea of such interactions, or simply recognize that they are offerings that have nothing to do with your vibration?
They're offerings that have nothing to do with my vibration.
Thank you. Here. You.
I have three things I want to ask you about.
Speak up, please.
Okay. Can you tell me if this mountain, which there's such a controversy over right now in Arizona with regard to the Indians, was that always an area for, even prior to when they started being there, being a vortex area?
There has been some fluctuation, but yes, there has always been energy in that area to some degree.
Of the type that they claim that it is?
Basically, yes, although again there has been some fluctuation.
I was curious about that because when I heard about this controversy, I saw that actually there was an opportunity for the Indians, even though they moved, to find that they could create that type of an environment wherever they go.
That is correct. It is also an opportunity for them to remember what it means to be an Indian. And to simply recognize that the event that they may fear is what will create it to happen. To fear it. To simply know that they are who they are will create them to be immovable. Yes. It is an opportunity for them to regain the idea of who they are.
Okay. The second thing is, I have several crystals which I purchased simply because I thought they were pretty and I like to have
Speak up.
Okay. And I noticed that recently they're beginning to have
Speak up again.
tremendous rainbows in them.
All right.
Which they did not have before.
All right.
And I'm curious about that.
You are. Well, have a good time exploring. Next.
Okay, the other thing is, I remember last time, a couple of times ago when I...
All right. What is a rainbow?
What is a rainbow?
Yes.
Well, it's
It is all the frequencies, is it not?
color band.
Yes. The representation of all the different levels reflected in every single facet. Next.
Oh, well, the question, the thing that I wanted to know about that, somebody told me they thought it was because that I was creating that in the crystal, but I thought maybe the crystal's consciousness was developing those things on their own.
it can't do it without you. Let's put it this way. What reason has it got without you?
For its own.
For its own. It is completely and totally of service.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the other thing, the last thing was, a few times ago I asked you about the Business constellation. You said later. Okay.
I say that now.
Yes, I know that, but
All right.
the thing I want to ask you is that last year, earlier in the year at Margot's, I mentioned to you an energy that I had experienced which was like a great bird, and you told me that it was the Katina energy. Is that a connection to this?
To some degree, yes. Yes,
Will we
to some
explore
degree.
this more later on?
Yes, you will.
Will we do it as a group?
Maybe.
Okay.
Thank you. You.
Very quickly, during these past few days, it's been very hot around here, and I've responded to it in an unusual way for me, and that is that I drink a lot of water. I've taken potassium and calcium, and no matter how much water I drink, my mouth is really dry and I have trouble swallowing. And I was wondering if there's some mineral that you might perceive that is missing or something.
One moment. Do you like citrus?
Yes.
You may increase a little bit your intake along with the water of the juice of idea orange, idea lemon, idea lime, tomato. Raw corn.
Okay.
Some ideas of clear fruit juices, not in excess. In this way, not the idea of what you would call, in terms of the orange, so much the orange juice, but simply some of the orange added into the water. The same with the idea of the lemon, although a little bit more of that can be ingested, and the same with the lime, a little bit more.
I'll mix with water.
Yes.
Very light, okay.
Yes. Our perception is that you will also lead yourself to some literature that will contain some other ideas that you may or may not find that you identify with to varying degrees.
Oh.
Thank you. You.
I'd like to.
Hi.
I'd like a title for tonight.
A title.
Relationship.
Sounds good to me. Comes from an expert. Thank you for participating so actively in this relationship. Okay. Yes.
Bashar, is there any validity to the concept?
Nope. I say that because there is always validity. Always validity. Validity simply is what is true for you.
Okay, let me phrase it another way.
All right.
Could you help me with the idea, with the concept of what is the validity to a being feeling that he must create retribution for some quote-unquote mistake created in a past existence?
Again, is it a continuation in this way of the idea of judgment, of guilt, of separation? For in this way, what is being recognized in a negative sense, in a judgmental sense, is simply the desire to have a polarity balancing experience to something done before. This does not mean it has to come in the form of retribution. It does not have to be looked at as judgment. Nothing judges you. There is no outside judge upon you. There is no outside. In this way, simply recognize the idea you call karma is A, completely self-imposed by you on yourself, and B, does not have to represent a retribution or a judgment, but simply a balancing of energy, a continuance of a momentum begun somewhere else, someone else.
So basically you could approach it in such a way that instead of trying to develop some retribution, that you just look at the particular experience, gain or integrate what you need to integrate from that experience.
Let it be a choice, not a punishment.
Right. Right. And then get what you need to get from it, and then you can let it go.
Good. The whole idea of, quote unquote, breaking the karmic cycle, so to speak, is the simple recognition that you created it.
You could choose not to experience it at all.
Correct.
Or if you are experiencing it, you're experiencing
For your chosen reasons. Therefore, it is under your control. You are not being punished by someone,
right,
unless it is yourself.
Right. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Bashar.
Yes.
Just a little unusual for me, but...
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I don't normally reflect these things.
Oh.
I've had a sore left foot for a while.
I see.
Yeah. Could you help me...
Are you playing the piano with your feet?
I used to play the organ with it quite a bit.
All right.
And that's what it is. I kicked the wrong note. Thanks for the reflection, yeah.
Now, in this way, do you feel as you are walking along? Now, let me remind you of something, however.
Okay.
The you were that was creating that soreness is not necessarily the you are now, so I'm not necessarily speaking to the you that had the sore foot anymore.
Gotcha.
But recognize that the idea may be that you have been feeling a little imbalanced, so that you would put more weight on one side than the other, and cause it to be much of a burden to walk along.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that does not necessarily mean that that is the you are now. After you have, this night of your time, become cognizant of your ability to treat every situation as fundamentally neutral. That can keep you on an even keel.
Very nice. Thank you, Bashar.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, yes.
It's been for about 3 months now. I've been trying. Oh, here it's really good.
Thank you.
To recall the dream, and I mentioned before they were flashing through so quick that I couldn't get the actual concept of them.
Oh!
Now, as of 5:30 this morning, I finally had a full concept, and I'm almost. I know if I say something, you're going to say, "What do you think?" And I'm going to be stuck for an answer. So I'm going to anyway.
Oh, all right.
It was so real. It was as real as I'm sitting here right now.
Yes.
And all I remember was looking down, and my body was filled with acupuncture needles.
Ah.
And I'm thinking, well, and it was so real. I thought, what am I doing? Who's doing acupuncture on me? And the next minute, me.
Yes, you.
The next second, my eyes are open, and I'm actually starting to feel if they're still there or whatever.
Yes.
But they weren't, and I decided.
But you are simply recognizing in a symbolic, conscious way the idea of all of the matrix points that you are as a vibratory entity. you opened up all the different vortices that go into making up the idea of yourself as an energy being. Symbolically represented by the idea of the needles of acupuncture, which create a connection of the flow of all those points to each other. You recognize, in a very creative way, your own holographic nature. That every point contains the totality of the whole, is connected to every other point. You became, in your own eyes, an energy matrix. But you simply gave yourself a physiological representation. You follow me?
Yes. That's what it is, and rather unusual.
Right.
I'm not bad or good, it's just indifferent.
Congratulations.
I thank you.
I thank you. Jay.
I wanted to share something that came up when Eric was talking earlier about love, etc., etc.
Yes.
Then you mentioned that love was everything.
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, I thought about love being everything and duplicating the frequency of love.
Okay.
In this particular experience, there was no, or virtually no, vibration, no physiological manifestation, only the knowingness.
Yes.
And I didn't know it was love. And so, and my mate, partner, lover, whatever, demanded more, quote unquote, more. And so I decided, after a period of time, that I would give myself some physiological manifestations and, quote unquote, fall in love.
Right.
And that was the start of the deterioration of the relationship. That's it. It's, not acting within my own integrity.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bashar.
Yes.
The last time we spoke, you told me to follow my ideals and walk my path.
Yes, Centurion.
Yes. And I have come upon a question. A large part of my ideals has to do with discipline.
Yes, Centurion.
Discipline to me is limitation, concentration, and focus on that limitation.
Yes, Centurion.
Can you elaborate? Because you say that limitation is something we should strive not to achieve.
Limitation is something you should strive not to achieve. That was beautiful. In this way, the idea, as we express limitation in this sense, is that what you are yourself striving for in terms of discipline and focus are the things that come automatically when you simply do what it is your vibration is all about. You automatically set up the definition of what you are, and therefore cannot be anything else. So you are automatically focused, but in a way that is not a struggle. You follow me? When you act upon your excitement for what you know to be true for you, your reality can only bring in the situations and relationships that are part of the idea you are being. So you don't have to focus yourself in a concentrated way, because nothing else will be there to focus on other than the idea you are being. Does that make some sense to you?
Yeah, it makes some sense.
All right.
It hasn't really sunk in, but...
All right. All you need to do is keep walking.
All right, thank you.
Oh. Yes. One moment. While you are walking that road,
yes,
it is all right to stop once in a while and enjoy the scenery.
Okay.
Because when you feel so inclined, that is a part of what walking the road is all about, not a deviation from it.
I see.
Be inclusive, not exclusive. Everything that is there is a part of the road, not an interruption in it. So enjoy. It is all right to enjoy it. It is not there to distract you. It is there to let you continue to walk the path you chose to read. Do not forget that a path is not so much what you are on. A path is what you are. You can't be off yourself. All right?
All right.
Thank you, Centurion. There is, in your turn, a few moments remaining in this interaction. Sure.
Bashar?
Yes!
I noticed that with some people you come up with a pet name which fits.
All right, Catalyst.
Well, that's the subject of my question. I've had about 4 of them or 5 of them since we've been interacting since the first time. And I'm wondering, I don't believe it's because you don't recognize it, because I know that you do recognize me.
Right.
But I'm wondering why it is I keep changing my name.
Because you're always a different you.
Well, that's true for all of them, for everybody, though.
Yes, but you are exemplifying the act of being a switching station. So it is apropos. You follow me?
Oh, you're saying the reference switching.
Would you prefer chameleon?
No, I like switching.
All right.
You're saying being a switcher is reflects, or rather,
what is
the changing of the names. You refer to me as Zen, Sunny,
yes.
the switching of the names.
As you become the different modalities, then you are that vibration. You simply have more of a penchant to shift the modality in an overall sense more often than most. And so, in this way, the overall identity of switcher, if you wish, may contain all the rest.
Ah, I see. That's interesting. I just thought I was asking different questions.
But as you ask a different question, you have to be a different person in order to conceive of that concept and that vibration.
Yeah.
It is simply that we perceive that fundamental with you is the actual act of switching itself, many times, more than the thing you are switching to.
You mean
you are getting the most learning out of the switching action itself rather than the things you are switching to.
That's true.
Thank you, switcher.
Bashar?
Yes!
And then it seems that apparently, as I've read, a higher consciousness is achieved or experienced.
You accelerate your electromagnetic field, align your cellular structure, and connect to all the different levels of yourself that you call all the different types of bodies that you have. Physical, etheric, astral, causal, mental, all these ideas. You align, you superconduct yourself, you crystallize yourself.
So when all of those are aligned, that's when the Kundalini energy, what's referred to as Kundalini energy, is released?
Yes. Because now it can travel a straight path, so to speak.
We are doing that in going along, in aligning ourselves with this idea.
Yes.
You know, that
so you will find that you will exist in fourth density in a constant state of ecstatic vibration. You will be Kundalini. Hey, precisely.
In Siddha Yoga, the guru, I think the term is one candle lighting another. What is it about the guru that has gives them, or that they possess the ability to instantaneously light the fire in another, as it were?
They recognize that the only individuals that come to them are the ones that are ready to do it for themselves. Mm-hmm. That recognition lets you see reflected from them your own light. Mm-hmm. Thus you become illuminated. You follow me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Why is it so difficult for someone to do it by themselves?
Once again, it isn't.
No.
It is simply your habit to think that it is.
The consideration of it.
And that is the only thing that makes it difficult, because you think it is.
Bashar?
Yes.
Will Arcturus or Naaman be here next week?
One moment. Different aspects of both. Yes.
Thank you.
Very briefly. The idea of serious energy, mostly upon what you call the seventh day of your seventh month. Hey, but in this way, some ideas and identifications of aspects of Arcturus' case. Briefly. In this way, at this time, therefore, once again, allow us to thank you and extend our appreciation for your willingness to allow us to co-create and co-blend with you and experience you as another facet of all that is. And we thank you for allowing us, along with you, to be the sharing that continues forever in the now eternal moment. Exciting dream life to you all. We bid you a fond and loving good morning. Everything go?
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all for being with me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all for coming. We have 3 tapes tonight. It's going longer and longer and longer. It's 11:31. Holy Toledo.
What time is the break?
Yeah, anyone who wants just 2 tapes, you're welcome to have just the 2 tapes.
What time is the break?
Almost 9 o'clock. 9:30. Yeah. So anyone who would like 2 or 3 tapes tonight, we've already got them started, so you can have them tonight very fast. We've got a high-speed tape duplicator. We also have videotapes, except for tonight. For some reason, the machine went kaput. Thank you all for coming. What?
What part of the machine went kaput?
I don't know.
Does the playback work?
I don't know what it is. It's the first time it's happened. And crystals for sale.